At Techstars, our mission is to help entrepreneurs succeed. We scour the internet and pulled the most asked questions about startups and entrepreneurship. Here's what the Techstars ecosystem had to say about hiring for your startup.
When it comes to looking for a co-founder, I feel like a lot of people tend to focus on filling in the gaps. However, I would say that shared values is the number one thing that you should start with. Like, how do I get along with this person? Under moments of stress, how do they react, right? Like, do we have a shared mission? Do we want to change the world together in a specific way? But more importantly, do we have those commonalities in terms of values? In terms of how to find co-founders, if you don't have one today, the first thing that I would do is actually look at my network. Look at who do I know? Who do I trust? They could be working and have specific jobs today, but it's okay. You can always recruit them and say, do you want to do this with me?
Great co-founder relationships are very similar to great marriages. They start with strong values alignment and knowing what you want to accomplish together, and then they're always a work in progress. Great co-founders work with outside coaches to help them understand each other's differences and turn those into assets and ensure they're complementary.
I hear a lot of founders that will create a relationship with another co-founder out of convenience because they need somebody to code or they need somebody to sell. I prefer either solo founders, if you can't find the ideal founder, or the ideal co-founder is somebody that has mutual respect, mutual admiration, and mutual trust. And those things are built over time. If you can't get that for some reason, go solo.
One of the common mistakes people make when they're trying to find a technical co-founder is just accept anyone who's technical and who's gone to a famous company that looks good on a pitch deck. Because the way business founders think is that that would look good to VCs. I could go raise money with that and we'll eventually build a product. But it's equally important to ensure that the technical co-founder you're bringing in actually is excited about the mission that you're building. Because in the early days, even the technical co-founder is going to be doing a lot of the business related stuff because you don't have that much product to ship before you know an opportunity that's clear and a product roadmap that's clear. So the more you can find someone who aligns with your cultural values, who doesn't mind rolling up their sleeves and doing business related activities, and who eventually has the technical skills and the chops to build your product, that combination I think is super critical in the early days.
It's a cliche, but something that we teach is hire slow, fire fast. You really want to be thoughtful about who you're going to bring onto your team. You also want to be thoughtful that the people that you bring on in the early stages of the development of your company may not be the people who can scale the company with you. First-time hires are tricky because most of the time early stage founders don't have the full salary to be able to pay talent, even really talented folks. So one of the first things that they do is they offer up equity as a replacement for some of that compensation. And one of the things that we are very adamant about is teaching our founders that you do not want to give out full equity at the top. All equity should be vested over time based on milestones and based on performance.
You need to have that perfect combination of creativity and analysis. So you need people on your team that are able to technically solve for problems, but at the same time, think about the market. Think about, how do we solve this and relate it back to culture? How do we make people actually adopt our technology or what it is that we're building in a human level?
Obviously, you want to bring on people who have the skills that you need to get the jobs done. But as importantly, or even more importantly, is bringing on people who are a values fit for your business. And a way to do that is to think about people you've worked with in the past, who you've worked really well with, and really look at the core attributes that they had that made them great to work with.
And what I usually do is have a very clear hiring scorecard that says what are the non-negotiables in terms of skills and experiences that they need to have so that you don't spend your early days training someone on something that's mission critical for your company, whereas the other areas for growth are really based on what can they nurture in terms of the longer roadmap of your company. It gives you the flexibility to attract talent that is almost hidden talent, where the market sees them differently and you're able to identify potential, and that becomes a nice arbitrage opportunity for you as a startup.
The must-haves for your first hires in a startup is one, avoid hiring people until it's absolutely necessary. Once you do decide that there's no other way around it, hire full stack people. And typically full stack's used for developers, but this applies even for non-developers. The first contributors to the company need to be people that are able to jump into any problem, the biggest problem, and help you solve it. You can get specialists later on, but in the beginning, you want to have people that have a founder mentality and the ability to jump into any problem.